Rain, falling while the sun is still out. English calls it a sunshower. Japan has a plain word for it too, but the name people reach for is older. We say the foxes are getting married. People still say it. Nobody thinks it is a strange thing to say. It is a strange thing to say. One afternoon at the end of summer, a man walked home through the train. He looked. Then he followed. He was invited in. He was fed. He was seated with the family, and he was handed the cup. In the morning, there was no house. This is the story of the fox's wedding. Before the story, something about foxes, because in these stories, a fox is never only an animal. In Japan, the fox serves Inari, the god of rice and prosperity, not the god, the god's messenger. There are said to be more Inari shrines here than any other kind, about 30,000, and at the head shrine in Kyoto, the red gate stands so close they become a tunnel. A fox of enough years can take a woman's form and live among people, sometimes as a wife, sometimes as a mother. One of the earliest fox stories we still have is 1200 years old, and it is exactly that. I will come back to it at the end. And on some nights, people watching the dark hills saw small fires moving in a line. In places, they did not call that a fire, they called it a wedding. The rain in sunlight and the lights in the dark, two different things, one name. This story itself is not from the chronicles. It comes from the villages, told a little differently in every valley. The bones of the one I am telling were collected in Miyazaki, in the south. The rain, the girl, the branches, the procession, and where the man was standing when he woke. I keep the bones. What happens inside the house is mine. I am a Japanese storyteller, and I return to the Japanese sources to bring their words and their world into English, with some moments dramatized for a modern audience. Late afternoon. A man was walking home over the hill road with an empty basket on his back. The sun was still on the road when the rain started. Not a shower, a thin, straight rain falling down through the light. Every drop lit up on the way down. He said it out loud, the way everyone did. Fox weather. They are marrying today. Then he saw the girl. She was on the road ahead of him, walking the same way, alone. He could not place her, and he knew every family for 3 valleys. She was young and along on the mountain road, in the rain, with the light going. He opened his mouth to call out to her. She stepped off the road into the trees, and he watched her break 2 small branches and set them in her hair, and put her hand flat against the trunk of a big tree, and walk once all the way round it. The rain kept falling in the sunlight. When she came back onto the road, she was in white silk and gold brocade, with a wide white hood a bride wears, and sleeves so long they moved like water. He knew exactly what he was looking at. He knew what a sensible man does: walk backwards, quietly, until the trees close, go home, and say nothing. He followed her. Where the road drops into the bamboo was full of people. They came out of it in order, the way a procession forms. Men carrying long chests on poles, men carrying a black palanquin, and every one of them holding a paper lantern, lit. At 4 in the afternoon, in the rain, in the sun. He counted them without meaning to. He had grown up hearing that in other provinces, people stood in their doorways and counted lights like these, and read next year's rice in the number. He had simply never been inside the line before. The procession turned up a path he had walked 100 times, to a place where there was nothing. There was a house there, big, old, with a heavy roof and a wet stone step, and light coming out of every opening in it. A man came down to the gate to meet him, dressed formally, and bowed the way you bow to a guest who has arrived late. "Please," he said, "you are expected." That was the moment he understood the shape of the evening. He had not stumbled into anything. From the moment he stopped on that road and did not turn back, they had known he was there. The road home was still behind him. He took off his sandals and went inside. Inside, it was a wedding. He was given a place, not a poor place by the door, but up among the family. The food was ordinary food, done well. Grilled fish, mountain vegetables, and rice that somebody had taken care over. The guests were kind to him, and that was the first thing he noticed. Nobody asked his name. Nobody asked which village or whose son he was. And at a country wedding, that is the only conversation there is. The second thing he noticed was the sound. Every lamp in the room was burning, and the room was full of people, and the floorboards never once made a noise. Then they brought the bride in. She sat in the bride's place, her hands folded in her lap, her face lowered under the white hood. And he looked straight at her, the one thing he had promised himself he would not do. She was frightened, not of him, not of being found out. She was frightened the way every bride he had ever seen was frightened, of the house she was going into, of all those faces turned towards her, of how much one day was about to change. And that was worse than anything he had feared out on the road. It was not a trick. It was not a trap laid for him. It was a wedding, and a family, and a girl having the most frightening day of her life. Then every face in that room turned towards him, all of them at the same moment, in the same movement, and went back to what they were doing. They brought him a cup. He drank. He remembered singing. He remembered someone laughing at the far end of the room. He remembered being told, very politely, that he should not stay for the end of it. Then he wanted his pipe. He found it and struck a light, and the little flame showed him where he actually was. He was standing on the stone base of a lantern in front of a small shrine at the edge of a field. There was no house. There was no path going up to where the house had been. The sky was getting light. His clothes were wet through, and it was the next morning. He walked home. He told his wife. She laughed at him and told him what she thought he had really been doing all night. So he told it in the village, expecting the same. An old man heard him out to the end and said, "I have seen the lights." And another said he had seen them too, from the ridge, one winter night, going along the river in a line. He had counted them. Nobody laughed then. After that, when the rain came down through the sunlight, that man would stand in his own doorway and look out at it for a while, not to catch them, to let them past. Here are 3 things you notice when you hear this story from inside Japan. First, the lights were not a figure of speech. People stood outside and counted them. A regional record from Echigo, written in the 1750s, describes fires like paper lanterns strung out through the dark for more than 1 day, about 4 kilometers, and calls it the Fox's Marriage. Around Edo, now Tokyo, it was said that every New Year's Eve, the foxes of the 8 eastern provinces gathered under one great tree, changed into court dress, and went in procession to the Inari shrine at Oji. The farmers there counted the fires and read next year's harvest in them. Hiroshige printed it in 1857. That tree is gone, but the neighborhood still answers the legend its own way. On the last night of the year, people there put on fox makeup and walk the procession themselves. Second, one of the oldest folk stories we still have is a marriage. It is in the collection of Buddhist tales set down around the year 820. A man in Mino goes out to look for a wife, meets a woman on an open moor, marries her, and has a son by her. Then the house dog corners her, and she goes up on the fence as a fox and runs. And the man calls after her, "Not what are you?" he calls. "We have a child, so I will not forget you. Come back. Come and sleep here." And she does. She keeps coming back every night because he asked. The book offers that as the origin of our word for fox, Kitsune. Come and sleep. Whether or not the word really began there, that is what this country wrote down early about foxes. Not a monster, a wife who was asked to come back and came. Third, you are never meant to see any of it. That is one of the things people say the rain is for. Look at the wedding, and the house is a field. Do not tell. Do not look. Do not open it. Japan has been saying that for 1200 years, and not once has it meant there was nothing there. Next time, a child is found inside a stalk of bamboo. She grows into the most beautiful woman in the country, turns down 5 noblemen and then the emperor, and then tells them where she is really from. If you want these stories the way Japan tells them, subscribe.